If the goal is to attract the right customers, then I'm going to need you to stop explaining yourself and stop selling yourself short. As a business owner, the second that sales start to get slow, maybe your bookings get quiet, or maybe somebody comes along and says, that's too expensive, you start looking at your prices like that's the problem. But what if it's not? What if you're simply attracting the wrong people? What if your position is just unclear, or you're not showing your value? So before you start running another sale or over explaining yourself in the comment section, go ahead and grab your tea, have a seat, and let's get into it. So I came across 2 posts on Instagram that made me instantly stop and be like, you know what? This is why business owners need to stop letting random people online make them question their prices. So the first one was a Mexican restaurant, and then the other one was a swimsuit line. I want to take a deep dive into what happened with the swimsuit line, but let's talk about this Mexican restaurant. So they made a post basically saying this is the reason why we don't give out free salsa and chips. Now, we already know that was wrong from the start, because you're attracting people that's automatically going to have a problem with that, simply because when you go out to restaurants, especially Mexican restaurants, that is a norm. You have some restaurants give you bread, and we know most Mexican restaurants give us free salsa and chips, but they set themselves up for failure from the beginning. When you are posting content, you have to think about a few things. One, what is the intent behind this post? What problem is it solving? That did not solve a problem to their customers. What that did is open up a platform for people to complain about why they don't give free chips and salsa. Your post should never be to explain your prices or justify your process or how you run your business. Your customers, who are actually your customers, not the ones that just want to complain about what you don't have and was never planning to go in the first place, but your actual customers will understand the value. And you also have to understand, just because you post things online doesn't mean that it's automatically going to attract your target audience, especially not something like that. You never know whose page the algorithm will put your post on. And that post, it did do numbers. It did go viral, however, for the wrong reasons. So you do have to make sure, again, with every single content you're putting out, whatever you're publishing, make sure it's actually solving a problem. Make sure that it's hitting your ideal audience. So make sure you are posting with intent. Now let's talk about this swimsuit line. So I came across a post where somebody was launching a swimsuit line for plus size women, right? And I thought it was something to celebrate. But when I went to the comments, everybody was angry. Everybody was arguing in the comment section. And the common theme that I saw were people saying that it was too expensive, that they could find $20 bathing suits, how it's not fair because this is a plus size tag. So before I could disagree or agree with the comment section, I went to look at the business page. Now, she did post from her personal page, which I'll talk about why that's a problem within itself. But I went to the business page, and I also went to the website to see what exactly the price was. But before I even got to the website, I could see just from the Instagram alone, she was positioning herself as elevated, premium, luxury. And I know, especially with businesses these days, we oftentimes see the word luxury, but the value, the positioning, everything else does not match. This wasn't the case for this business. Everything matched, from the branding, the photography. I went onto the website, same thing. Everything matched, the layout, the aesthetic of the website. And I went to the prices. So the tops were around $120, $125. And then the bottoms were separate, which isn't uncommon. And the bottoms were around like $45. So it isn't uncommon, like I mentioned, for swimsuits to be separated. The pricing point matched the brand, how she was positioning herself. She was not positioning herself as affordable. But the problem is the people who she had reached was not her target audience. So the reason I say posting on her personal page was a problem in itself, because she is just launching this, right? You have to understand, on your personal page, those people may not be your target audience. When I looked at her followers and just the content that she was making prior to making that post, nothing had to do with anything plus size, anything luxury. It was just lifestyle content. So you have to understand, the initial purpose of people following you may not align with this new brand you're now launching, which I feel like was the case for her. Now, the part where she went wrong is explaining herself in the comments to everybody who made a post about the price who didn't agree with her. She kept explaining over and over why the price is the price. And in my mind, I'm like, girl, please stop explaining yourself to these people. Somebody even said, oh, I could get a bathing suit for $20. Now, those people are likely shopping from stores like Shein or Fashion Nova. And it's not to knock those people at all, but understand those are not your customers. That's not your target audience. Regardless of what your price point was, if it wasn't $20, it could have been $30, $40. Those people were still not going to shop with you because they can get it for $20. What she ultimately ended up doing is allowing non-buyers to control the conversation. It instantly shifted the conversation from the quality and the experience to the affordability of the brand. But here's the thing, you cannot argue somebody into becoming your ideal client. So what's the purpose? And I get it, a price can feel expensive to some people, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong for your business. Like I said, a lot of those people in the comments were probably never intending to do business with her in the first place, regardless of what the price point was at. And everybody who engaged with your content isn't your ideal audience, and you have to remember that's okay. But understand, when positioning yourself, pricing cannot stand alone. When you are pricing your services and your products, you do have to make sure it makes sense alongside like your expertise, your branding, your customer experience, packaging, your booking process, the overall result that the customer may receive. Now, once the experience do indeed match that price, you also cannot panic every time somebody says, oh, this is too expensive. Oh, you need to lower your price. When are you running a sale? And we're going to get into running those sales too. So let's say you are in a slow season and you are thinking about lowering your price. Now, the issue with that is when continuously lowering your price becomes a default, you have to think about what it does long term as well. What you're doing long term is setting customers up so that they are always looking for a sale. Why would they pay full price? And then the people who do pay full price, now they feel a bit slighted or shorted because after they pay full price, now you're running a sale. In addition to that, you are lowering your price. Maybe you're becoming more booked. Maybe there's more products. But how much of a profit are you really making? You busier, yes, but with less profit. And when you do decide to raise your prices, now it's harder because you've attracted people who are used to your lower prices, are used to your sales. So now when you're ready to, let's say down the line years later, increase your price, now you're basically starting all over because you have to attract a new audience. So yes, lowering your price may clear out your inventory. It may fill your books up today, but you're ultimately creating a pricing problem for tomorrow. And no, I'm not saying that you should never offer a discount or never run a sale, but you do have to have a strategy behind it. Instead of just offering a sale or lowering your price at the moment somebody complains, you can focus on customer loyalty, a referral program, or maybe even an add-on bonus for a short period of time. Your strategic offers should have things like a focus or specific audience, a clear purpose, a start and end date. You don't want to be running this forever and ever. A measurable business goal and a plan for what happens afterwards. There is a clear difference between intentionally lowering your price versus panicking just because nobody is booking or you feel like nobody will buy. A lot of people also believe that just because you're new to business that you have to start at a low price. And I made this mistake as well, especially in my web design business, which I've talked about before. When I first started, I felt like because I was new to business that I had to start low. And also my target audience was small business owners. And I thought just because you're a small business means you can't afford things. So I priced my websites extremely low, a ridiculously low price. And a small business owner not making money is definitely not true. So one, make sure you are doing your research on your market, on your target audience, and not just going off the whim of what you think to be true. And I get it, your experience level can affect your pricing, but it shouldn't be your only reason. With me starting off, I was new, yes, but I had the skill set already and your profitability. When it came to my time, I was pricing myself so low that by the time I was done, I was making less than minimum wage from these projects that I was working on. It ended up not being worth it until I actually ended up raising my prices. In addition to that, think about when you're starting off low, who you are actually attracting. Like I mentioned before, you may have to start over when you go to raise your prices because the people who initially started with you with those low prices, they're no longer interested. Also, you may oftentimes hear that lower prices attract entitled customers? I dealt with this. I felt like some of the worst people that I had to do business with were attracted to my business because of those low prices. When I started to increase my prices, that's when I started to service people who actually valued my time, valued the business and the service that I was offering, and they ultimately became easier. Now, does that mean that every single person that you experience at a lower price will be difficult? Not necessarily, but it definitely will attract some. So instead of starting your business with a low price, here are some things you can do instead. Start with like an introductory rate to basically build your portfolio if you never had clients or customers before. This is just an introductory rate for a certain amount of people or for a short period of time. So yes, you're starting a little lower, but you're already putting it out there that your price is actually higher. You can also do something like a lunch bonus. I think when I first launched my web design business, yes, it was cheaper at that time, but I did make an offer for anybody that booked within like the first 48 hours, something as simple as that. But again, you're still setting the foundation, letting people know this is just a limited offer. You could definitely be doing business without positioning yourself as cheap. Now, for my entrepreneurs already in business, what I commonly see is when there's a slow season, the first thought is, let me lower my prices or let me run a sale. And I get it. At the time, that could be the easiest thing to change, but lowering your price doesn't automatically mean there's going to be an abundance of bookings. Instead of lowering your price, I want you to investigate what the actual problem may be instead. So for instance, your visibility. Are you even on the right platform to reach the right audience? Are enough people actually seeing the offer? And are you consistently talking about it? If you're not staying top of mind of your potential clients, then that's a problem in itself, not your actual price. Next is your messaging. Is it clear who the actual product or service is for? And are you explaining the results, not just the features? Do they know what the benefit of shopping with you or being serviced by you is? And does your content make the value easier to understand? No, that's not explaining your prices. No, that's not explaining every detail behind the scenes, but your value. Next is how you're going to position your business. Does your brand experience match your price? Are you actually attracting customers that are looking for quality, or are they just looking for the cheapest option available? And does your presentation separate you from those lower price competitors? So next is your customer journey. Is the booking process actually easy? Are the services clearly explained? And can customers easily and quickly decide which option is best for them? I want you to go through your own customer journey as a first-time customer or client and see if it makes sense. See if it's easy to get from the beginning to the end and book with you yourself. And the focus isn't just attracting the right clients, but also keeping the clients as well. So when you're focusing on your retention strategy, are you reminding customers to rebook? Do you have a loyalty program, a referral program? And are you following up with past clients? So overall, your pricing strategy is more than just a number you picked out of thin air. Does it make sense based on your customer experience, your positioning, your messaging, your audience? It all plays a role. So when the next time comes, before you lower your price and before you decide to fight for your life in the comment section, I want you to ask yourself these questions. And the main thing I want you to ask yourself is, are you making a strategic decision or is this an emotional decision? Sometimes when you are looking at comments and people are telling you your price is too high, or they're very argumentative, you might need to walk away, step away before you lead with ego versus logic. Because you don't need to always defend your prices to people who disagree with you. But you do need to make sure you're communicating why your product is worth the investment. So let me know in the comments, have you ever lowered your price because somebody told you it was too expensive, or it was just a slow season for you? Now tell me, did it actually help, or did it just create more problems in the long run? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you here next time.